Sarah Kerrigan Origins Explored. Sarah Kerrigan is a prominent character in the StarCraft series, and she has a compelling and complex storyline that has evolved over the course of several games such as StarCraft, StarCraft II, Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, and Legacy of the Void. She bears strong similarities with the Xenomorph Queen in that both of them are powerful, intelligent, and strong female characters with quite advanced abilities. They are both apex leaders and controllers of their swarms and hives, as well as share the ability to reproduce in the forms of Zerglings and new Xenomorphs. Their appearances share a striking similarity as well, both having been influenced by the works of H.R. Geiger, and both are aggressive and ruthless in battle. Sarah Kerrigan is one of the most beloved and recognizable characters of the StarCraft franchise, and her transformation and subsequent redemption arc have captivated fans throughout the course of the evolution of the StarCraft universe as a whole. Here in this video, we explore the intriguing origin story of Sarah Kerrigan. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
For I am the Queen of Blades.
Early life of Sarah Kerrigan. Sarah Kerrigan's hidden powers were evident from when she was a child. She had accidentally killed her mom by causing her head to come apart while damaging her father's brain. At that point, Terran Confederacy agents took over and put her into the Ghost program, which was a project for the training and use of Terran, i.e. human ghosts who are formidable covert operatives. At the tender age of 8, she was able to score unprecedentedly well on her psi evaluation. During training, instructors, especially the Confederate officer named Rum, tried to coerce her to use psychic power in various ways, but were not totally successful in establishing evidence. They tortured her father as well as tortured Sarah herself. Sarah was initially very hesitant and combative towards her instructors, and thus the decision was taken to use a neuroadjuster, a device that would weaken her psionic powers and make her absolutely loyal to the Confederacy. Sarah refused this, however she was forced to take this neuroadjuster by Rum, which transformed her into an introverted and withdrawn young girl, decreasing her powers. At one point in training against an older opponent, Sarah was able to defeat the opponent as well as demonstrate her psionic powers. The Confederacy molded her to the point that she was able to kill without any remorse. The first proper mission that Sarah was deployed to was to kill a famous senator, Angus Menks, with the help of 2 other ghost operatives. Senator Menks had declared planet Coral to be a free world independent of the Confederacy. Sarah performed well in this mission and was the one who personally assassinated the senator by decapitating him. His wife and young daughter were also killed. She performed well in the Umojan mission as well, being able to make her intended kill despite obstructions. Sarah participated in the Xenomorph experiments at the secret Fujita facility. During this experimentation, she was captured and taken to the battlecruiser Hyperion in an unconscious state where her neural inhibitor was removed. Arcturus Menks, the son of the senator that Sarah had killed, chose to spare her at this point because of her vast potential, despite her killing his father and the rest of his family. He was the leader of the Sons of Coral, a resistance movement against the Confederacy. Sarah began to remember fragments of her past memories. Having become the rebel and member of the Sons of Coral, she helped spread rumors to harden the resolve against the Confederacy. When a ghost operative boarded a rebel ship, Sarah was able to detect and kill it. In an almost suicidal attack on the Ghost Academy at Tarsanis, Sarah was able to find Rum and take a messy revenge both for her own torture as well as Hung's death. At this point, it was clear that Sarah was extremely competent as well as dedicated to the Sons of Coral. However, her personal loyalties remained under question. During the Great War on a planet called the Antigua Prime, Sarah was able to infiltrate the military base of the Confederacy and assassinate the officer in the command center, placing that base under the control of the Sons of Coral. It was there she first linked up with Captain Jim Raynor, a former Terran marshal turned rebel. When the Confederacy launched a major assault against the Sons of Coral, the plan by Arcturus Menks was to use a psi emitter that would attract the attention of the Zerg, who are terrifying, ruthless, and dominating aliens, who obliterate anything in their way, hunting them down and incorporating any useful genetic code of theirs into their own. Sarah thought that nobody deserved to have the Zerg to be unleashed on them, even the Confederacy, because it would condemn billions of people on the planet to death. However, Menks Mengsk would not listen to her and stick to his plan nevertheless. Sarah and Raynor are later sent to raid a science facility on a Confederate-controlled world called Orna 3. Sarah pretended to be a ghost who had arrested the criminal Raynor, and this deception worked. They were able to rescue several scientists and the test subjects while killing the corrupt scientists and destroying the facility. Sarah eventually gets close to Raynor, and the two give in to their emotions and make love. Raynor promises her that if the darkness in Sarah ever went out of control, he would stop it. How did Sarah Kerrigan get infected by the Zerg? The revolutionary battle proceeded to Tarsonis, the capital of the Confederate world, and a central and political hub that was heavily defended. Sarah and Raynor were able to penetrate the surface of the planet along with a small number of revolutionary sources. Sarah fought her way through the streets of Tarsonis City, while billions of Zerg were lured to the planet as Mengsk used the Psi emitter again, totally decimating the Confederacy's defenses. Mengsk, however, betrays Sarah at this point by not assisting her troops as the Zerg approached. This was how Mengsk took revenge on Sarah for killing his father and the rest of his family. The Zerg swarm captures Sarah in their process of complete destruction, sensing her strong psychic powers as a weapon against the Protoss, a sapient humanoid species with advanced technology and psionic mastery. The Overmind was the leader of the Zerg swarm, and it was unwillingly implanted with a directive to destroy the Protoss. This was part of the plan by the fallen Xel'Naga Amon, the most ancient evil in the universe, to destroy both the Protoss and Zerg. Hence, the Overmind believed that it could defy Amon to an extent by infesting Sarah, so she was placed in a chrysalis in a painful process that caused her much physical damage. When she would emerge, she would become a bizarre Zerg-human hybrid. Unlike normally infected humans, Sarah could think and still had partial free will, intelligence, and a portion of her personality. Her stature increased and she gained an armored shell, claws, as well as wings. How did Sarah Kerrigan become the Queen of Blades? To break her ghost conditioning that was limiting her psionic potential, Sarah raided the Terran science vessel Amerigo and downloaded the needed information from a computer terminal. After this, her psionic abilities developed rapidly, and she could now cause a psionic storm, which is basically summoning a storm of raw psychic energy. She could also sense the presence of Protoss on her planet. However, her psychic link with Raynor would remain. In a deliberate act of suicide, the Overmind in its physical form attacked the homeworld of the Protoss, knowing it would be killed, but also knowing that Sarah would be powerful enough to take control of the Zerg swarm. The Overmind granted the will of the swarm to Sarah, who could now become the leader of the Zerg, and all that stood in her way were a few renegade Cerebrates, i.e. Zerg brood leaders. When the first Overmind died, many Zerg Cerebrates led by Dagoth, one of the most celebrated Cerebrates and once the right-hand man of Overmind, merged into a new Overmind. This resulted in the brood war between Dagoth and Sarah to see who would succeed Overmind. Dagoth was destroyed later when Sarah convinced the Dark Templar Zeratul to destroy the second Overmind. Sarah started by taking control of the Dark Templar matriarch Razagal before she arrived on the Shakuras, the homeworld of the Dark Templar. Using her influence, she was able to manipulate the Protoss into killing two Cerebrates. The United Earth Director, UED, i.e. the government of Earth, decided to invade the Koprulu, or Terran sector, a sector in space colonized by Terrans, Protoss, and Zerg. The UED acquired the Psi Disruptor, a powerful anti-Zerg weapon, but squandered its use. The UED proceeded to capture Koral, the throne world of the Terran Dominion, which is a Terran empire. Sarah, at this point, for her own purposes, allied with both Raynor and Arcturus Mengsk, who remained as her prisoner, and contacted them on Shakuras. Together, they rescued the remains of the Dominion fleet from the UED. They were also able to destroy the Psi Disruptor. Sarah led the attack on the UED on Koral and was able to defeat them. However, she betrayed the allies that had helped, even the hero Protoss Phoenix, and killed him. This led Raynor to vow to kill Sarah, but she remained unaffected by this. Sarah, however, let Arcturus Mengsk live as he was no threat to her, and she wanted him to see her rise to power, as he was the one who had indirectly allowed her to transform into what she is now. Sarah was then able to convince Zeratul, the Dark Templar, to kill the second Overmind. This destruction led to the slaying of other Cerebrates by Sarah, including Daggett, who did not survive past the new Overmind's destruction. Thus, Sarah brought virtually all the Zerg under her control. This is how she established herself as the true Queen of Blades. What did Sarah Kerrigan do as the Queen of Blades? As Queen of Blades, Sarah no longer required Cerebrates of any form, and she feared they might again try to form a new Overmind. At this point, Raynor tried to attack Sarah, but that failed. Sarah carried out various projects wherein she directed Zerg evolution according to her own designs, sending out forces to explore and exploit various worlds and assimilate new species in their genetic code. She desired species that had hyper-regenerative properties and tried to devise more intelligent Terrans that were infested. She was successfully able to access roaches in the world of Garzax as part of this project. She created brood mothers to fill the role of Cerebrates because she wanted the Zerg swarm to survive even if she fell ill. Wanting to return to the Coprolu sector, she had made an elaborate plans but interrupted them when she became aware of a strange psychic phenomenon, a Terran-Protoss linking, emanating near the world of Dead Man's Rock. Going there, she was able to infest a Terran named Stuart. Although she and Stuart worked together for some time, she considered him a failure and allowed him to die, although the circumstances of the infestation were successful and she could replicate it to find a new consort. Sarah had become fatalistic because she knew that her Zerg mutation left her vulnerable to Amon's influence. She wanted the Zerg to become a much more powerful species. In search of an ancient prophecy, she traveled to Ulan and fought Zeratul there, who with the help of the Protoss was able to escape with the fragments of the prophecy. Studying it, he learned that Sarah was the key to stopping Amon and his Protoss-Zerg hybrids. Thus, he concluded that Sarah's survival must be ensured, and he passed on this information to Raynor. After this, Sarah sparked the Second Great War when she drove the Zerg swarm into a massive invasion of Terran space. She was looking for a Xel'Naga device that had been taken apart and scattered throughout that sector. However, the Terran rebels, headed by Raynor, were able to obtain the device before the swarm. In a joint Raynor and Dominion raid, the Xel'Naga device was used and the energy wave that was created destroyed the Zergs in its path as well as de-infestated Sarah, changing her DNA, transforming her into an almost human being, more human than Zerg. Raynor and Terran Marine Finlay found Sarah dazed and de-infested. She was about to be killed by Finlay when Raynor saved her.
Please. Our petty conflicts mean nothing now. The storm is coming that cannot be stopped.
Sarah Kerrigan, now almost human, no longer the Queen of Blades. Sarah was now mostly human, while still having some Zerg traits such as her dreadlocks like antennae instead of hair. She had become much weakened and Raynor carries her out to a waiting dropship while fighting off Zergs who were now leaderless. She was also rescued and met by Valerian, the son of Arcturus Menx. Due to the fear of the arrival of Arcturus and his army, Sarah and rescuers fled to Dead Man's Rock where her health worsened. However, her powers began to return. At this point, Arcturus Menx contacted them and told them to turn over Sarah if they wanted to live. In a battle with Arcturus Menx, she let loose her fury, killing numerous enemies, but accidentally killing an ally as well, which caused her to become incarcerated at a research station in a hostile environment suit. Valerian was intent on studying her to see how much Zerg influence was left in her. The rebels had grown frightened of Sarah and did not want her there. At this point, Sarah, having spared Arcturus Menx at one point, swore revenge on him again. She appeared in a comatose state while refusing food or water. Her brain functions began to recover and she recalled her past life as the Queen of Blades. Sarah felt guilty for her role in the Brood War. She was given some Zerg to control and she was still able to do it, even spawning some Zerglings to cause destruction without killing anybody. At this point, Valerian decided to release Sarah. After this, Sarah became a part of various successful battles, intent of seeking revenge on Arcturus Menx. Sarah at one point was attacked by the Primal Zerg, a subspecies of Zerg from the planet Xerus, who had escaped from Amon's influence. She learned that Amon was responsible for enslaving and corrupting the Zergs through the hive mind as part of his plot to destroy both the Zerg and Protoss. In order to combat this, she would have to turn into the Queen of Blades again. Sarah went to the first spawning pool where the Zerg first evolved and entered it, sealing herself in a chrysalis. She emerged from it as the Primal Queen of Blades, making her presence known to the entire planet. Queen of Blades returns, finishes the job, and disappears. Sarah, as the new primal Queen of Blades, is contacted by an unknown voice knowing of her desire for revenge towards Mix. Tracking this voice down, Sarah is led into a battle with an infested Alexei Stukov, a vice admiral for the UED Expeditionary Fleet. In an intense battle with Stukov, Sarah is nearly killed, but finally manages to fatally wound Stukov. Before dying, however, he tells her that Amon is alive and she would soon face it. But first, she would have to finish her business with Mix. Sarah swarms Koral and breaches her way through Arcturus Mech's defenses and makes her way to his office, where he is waiting for her with a Xel'Naga artifact. He uses this to disable Sarah and starts gloating, allowing Raynor to intervene, crushing the artifact. This allows Sarah to get to Mix, and she impales him to the wall by his shoulders and overflows him with psionic energies, leading Mix to explode violently. All that remained after this was Amon himself. Fighting her way to the Xel'Naga chamber, she discovers that Amon has slaughtered the Xel'Naga and is trying to build a new host body for himself. Taking her time, Sarah is successfully able to rebuild enough forces to launch an assault on Amon. She sought help from Raynor and Artanis, the leader of the Daylam, which is the unity government of many Protoss types. Entering the void, they were able to free the last Xel'Naga Horus, who merged his essence with Sarah's in order to defeat Amon. Now in Xel'Naga's form, Sarah headed deep into the void to confront Amon. As she destroyed Amon's energy barrier, he tells her that she was nothing but the product of a flawed cycle being manipulated for her whole life. Sarah replied that Amon knew nothing about her and that she chose freedom, not just for her, but for everybody. Saying this, she finally defeats Amon, telling Raynor in her last moments to flee. After this, Raynor finds himself in a bar where he sees Sarah return in the form before her infestation, and she asks him if he was ready to get out of there, to which he responded positively. Both of them disappear after this and are never seen again. Whether it's real or not, this is somewhat the happy ending to Sarah's story. What made Sarah Kerrigan so powerful? Sarah was formidable as a Terran psychic even at a young age and demonstrated powerful telekinetic abilities. Her powers were so off the charts that it forced a readjustment of the psionic measurement scale itself. These powers were reduced by ghost conditioning and a neuroadjuster, but she gained them back when the device was removed. Sarah trained herself to manifest her psionic powers in many ways, such as telepathy, telekinesis, clairvoyance, mind reading, and so on. Even after de-infestation, she retained the ability to control Zergs. For infestation, her power was at class 12, but after infestation, it was so much that it could not be measured by the scale. Sarah was especially adept at using firearms and knives, as well as good enough at martial arts. She was very competent at deception and strategy. Sarah has done many incredible things, like gain control of the Zerg swarm and seized the mind of Razagal, the matriarch of the Dark Templar, who herself used to be a very powerful psychic. Having become a human and stepped into the first spawning pool again, she became the primal Queen of Blades and developed her power to such an extent that she was unrivaled by any being at that point, perhaps with the exception of Amon. When the Xel'Naga Uros transferred his essence to her, Sarah gained even further psionic might, being able to wield celestial energy as a cohesive beam and expel it as an extremely powerful energy wave. At this point, she became the most powerful psionic entity, even defeating Amon to her might. Overall, the journey of Sarah from a precocious kid to the most powerful psionic being is a fascinating one, definitely worth going on.
With all I've done, the lives ruined, worlds.
Marvelous verdict. The story and legacy of Sarah Kerrigan are one of tragedy, betrayal, and ultimate redemption. She is a very complex and multifaceted character with an interesting backstory. Sarah and her story has been positively received by critics and fans, and her transformation and voice acting have received special positive feedback. She has been voted among the 50 greatest female characters in video game history, as well as being included among the best villains in gaming. Definitely among the very top female villains, with a rare ability ability to be merciless and sympathetic, her complex personality has been immensely well received. Sarah Kerrigan has been the subject of various toys and miniature statues. She is particularly difficult to cosplay, but there have been various decent attempts at it, both by amateurs and by actors in television shows such as The Office. Overall, Sarah Kerrigan's character is a much beloved one in the StarCraft universe and a memorable one for fans for the difficult yet amazing adventures she went through. If you liked her content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.